Another one.
Yep, that's me. You're probably wondering how I ended up in this situation.
What's up guys, welcome back to another Go Battle League video.
Today we are going to be showcasing a very interesting team in the Jungle Cup. I understand the Jungle Cup is ending soon, and it's probably because my upload schedule is only happening around the weekends or Mondays, and yeah, it's spring break, so I decided to show you guys this video. So yeah, about this interesting team inside the Jungle Cup, I decided to run Shadow Tyranitar. Shadow Tyranitar is now just a speed demon with Dragon Breath and Brutal Swing, and it just does monstrous amounts of damage. I've also paired up Ludicolo and Togetic into this team with the Tyranitar, so I hope you guys enjoy today's video because some of these battles were absolute bangers. So I hope you guys stick until the very end because man, these battles, oh my goodness, they were just so fun to play in. Hopping into the first battle with the Shadow Tyranitar against Shadow Abomasnow. Now, if they're running Leaf Edge, that's going to be pretty bad for us, but it seems like they're running Powder Snow. They're going to Safe Switch into their Guzzlord, and I honestly do not know why they sent in Guzzlord. Okay, sure, the Tyranitar is pretty glassy, so that Brutal Swing, the Resistible Brutal Swing, is still going to do some damage. But either way, we're going to see the Safe Switch into Togetic, because Togetic is going to do double super effective damage with the Fairy Winds, though that Sludge Bomb does a lot of damage right there. Okay, Guzzlord is getting low. This is just a Brutal Swing, and Brutal Swing will not knock out, but I will get very, very low. Togetic is going to wait for the switch in. They come in with the Abomasnow, and this is where Heat Wave comes in. Heat Wave would do double super effective damage against the Abomasnow, and so they're forced to shield. I'm going to go for a second Heat Wave just to ensure the final shield here. I'm going to Safe Switch into the Tyranitar, trying to catch, but unfortunately they come in with the Quagsire. Even so, this Stone Edge will do some massive damage right there. That does half of its health bar, and that is very interesting because Shadow Tyranitar, well, I guess in general, Stone Edge does not do that much damage to a Mud Boy, but as you can see there, Shadow Tyranitar just has the power to do that. We're going to come in with the Ludicolo now. Ludicolo is going to have to shield up both Weather Balls, but since it has 2 shields, it should be able to live in this game. Togetic is essentially just 0 HP, so honestly at this point it's really just catching material, but because there's the Abomasnow literally is like their only Pokemon left, this Ice Beam will knock it out. We're going to be able to take home this game. Okay, hopping into the next battle, leading Shadow Tyranitar into a Pelipper. Pelipper is actually a slightly negative lead for the Tyranitar, despite the fact it is resisting the wing attacks, but it does have Weather Ball, which is why it's a slightly negative lead. But the Brutal Swing does also go back against the Pelipper and do some pretty nice damage. It's already at red health, but we're going to have to shield the Weather Ball or else we're going to just get knocked out. We're going to go for a second Brutal Swing. We're able to win the CMP tie against them, and so they're going to be forced to shield if they want to knock out the Tyranitar. They're already so low health though that this is going to be farming material for my Pokemon. We're going to let go of the Tyranitar. We're going to come in with the Ludicolo. They come in with the Galarian Stunfisk right there, but that's just going to get destroyed by Weather Balls here because Ludicolo's Weather Balls actually do damage now. Weather Ball number 1 does half of Galarian Stunfisk's HP. We're going to see the Galarian Stunfisk going to fire off a Rock Slide here. Now, Rock Slide number 1 is not going to do too much damage, but Rock Slide number 2 is going to get me very, very low. Ludicolo is going to have to hang on here. Rock Slide does get it into the red, but we're able to reach the Weather Ball before they reach a third Rock Slide. Weather Ball is going to knock out here, and now we're just going to have to see what they send in and what they have in the back. They're going to have a Trevenant, and honestly, this game is just over because, like, Trevenant is not going to be able to knock out a Togetic, even with the Shadow Ball. Hard-hitting Shadow Ball is just not going to be enough because Togetic actually has decent bulk compared to its counterpart, Togekiss. Togekiss is a way glassier version because it only ends up at being like, I don't know, level 18 or something, while Togetic ends up being at like level 32, which means it actually has bulk in this game. Yeah, so anyway, that is a good match right there. We're gonna hop into game number 3, and this is where the happy stuff ends. Yeah, Wigglytuff was a pretty big problem for this team because 2 of my Pokemon can't do super effective damage against it, well, with their fast moves. And yeah, if I sent in Togetic, I would just get slimed out by the Licky Licky. So either way, we're just gonna have to play it out here because I'm not one to give up here in general. Even though I probably should have. But either way, we're gonna see here. They're gonna have the Licky Licky getting us very low with body slams. They're probably gonna knock us out with this second body slam right here. Body slam number 2 is going to knock out. And we're gonna come in with the Shadow Tyranitar, trying to get a farm down, but the opponent is going to have a body slam number 3 ready to go. It doesn't do too much damage to me, but the opponent is definitely going to catch once they fire off the second body slam onto the Tyranitar. Tyranitar is going to hang on, but they're going to snipe with the Wigglytuff, and I'm forced to come in with the Togetic. Togetic has to shield up these Icy Winds. Icy Winds would do a lot of damage, even though this thing is relatively bulky. And yeah, honestly, it's actually getting shredded by Charms alone. But yeah, we're going to see the Side Shock. Side Shock is going to do a decent amount of damage here. We're going to try to reach another Side Shock, but unfortunately, they win by half a turn. Swift is going to do a lot of damage. We're going to have to go for a Heat Wave because I actually think Heat Wave will do a lot more damage. And it turns out this is where I make the discovery that Heat Wave just simply does more damage in general. They're going to come in with that camera up. Camera up, honestly, it's just over. Low-key, I cannot do anything in this scenario. Oh my goodness, camera up just farming down everything. I'm trying to get to another Side Shock, but they're just going to fire off another Incinerate there. Incinerate. Oh yeah. At this point, it's just over. I have to surrender here. So yeah. Anyways, hopping into the next match, we see a terrible lead with the Shadow Tyranitar up against Quagsire, and we're gonna try to safe switch into the Ludicolo, trying to get a catch up. Unfortunately, we do not get it. They send in a Togekiss go, and that is going to be pretty interesting because Togekiss does not actually do well against Weather Ball here. Weather Ball does a lot of damage to the Togekiss here. I honestly think a second Weather Ball is going to be enough to knock out. We're going to try to reach another one, and we do manage to reach it. The opponent might shield here. Do they shield up this Weather Ball to preserve their Togekiss? Yes, they do. They're going to come in with the Aura Sphere, I think. Aura Sphere will probably knock out. Oh, wait, no, they actually go for Side Shock. That is a slightly less damaging move. They're going to come back in with the Quagsire loaded. I'm going to have to go with the Brutal Swing here. Brutal Swing is going to do some decent damage to the opponent here. Now, the opponent is already pretty loaded on energy, so I have no choice but to let this Aqua Tail go. I'm going to have to come in with I think I'm going to have to come in with the Togetic here. Togetic is going to do some nice damage with the Fairy Winds, but it's not going to be enough. The opponent is already at a Stone Edge, but they actually bait us with the Aqua Tail. That is a very good bait by the opponent right there. I'm forced to go Side Shock here just so they don't reach another Stone Edge, or else I really would have lost this game. Honestly, I think I already lost this game anyways because of how Licky Licky's just in the back there ready to roll out and, like, you know, get rid of me because, you know, Rock destroys with flying. We're trying to go for the catch here. Unfortunately, it does not work. And honestly, at this point, this game is just over. I actually cannot do anything against Licky Licky at all. Shadow Ball does a lot of damage. That is a decent amount of damage against a Togetic. But either way, we're going to go for another Side Shock. Side Shock is going to get the final shield, but at this point, this game is over. Shadow Ball is going to knock us out, and unfortunately, that is a unfortunate loss. Hopping into the next match, leading Tyranitar into Furret. This is actually a much better lead than most people think, because even though Sucker Punches do a lot of damage, they don't do a lot of damage to Tyranitar specifically. Now, they come in with a Quillfish, and that is really bad, because my backline just does not like to deal with poison types in general. But either way, we're going to have to deal with it. We're going to send in Ludicolo here. I'm hoping, oh, yep, we got the nuke move there, thankfully, because honestly, if we didn't get the nuke move, that would have been really bad. We're going to go for a Weather Ball here, hoping it KOs, but it does not KO. But we're able to get the farm out on the Quillfish, which is actually pretty nice. We're going to come back in with the Sucker Punch for it. We're going to be able to reach another Weather Ball. Weather Ball is going to do some decent amount of damage. Weather Ball going to get it to, I think, a third of its health, actually. Either way, we're going to see Ludicolo is going to get knocked out here by the Swift, but now we're just going to be able to send in Tyranitar and try to make a play. Tyranitar is tanking a lot of those moves. Honestly, I think I had the shield here because even though this is I thought it was a Trailblaze, but unfortunately it's just a Swift. We're going to come in with the Corvic Knight now. Corvic Knight has no choice but to shield up the Stone Edge, because Stone Edge would do a lot of damage to the bulky Corvic Knight. We're going to come in with the Togetic now, and their energy is essentially walled here. The only move they can go for here is Air Cutter, because Payback would be resistant against Togetic's Fairy type. We're going to continue to farm. We're going to get to the Fairy. We're going to get to the Heat Wave. Yeah, Heat Wave. Heat Wave is going to do some damage. Oh my goodness, that does half of Corvic Knight's HP. This is why Heat Wave is such a golden move now. The opponent gets another attack boost with that Air Cutter, and that is not great. But fortunately, we're still going to be able to reach Heat Wave. Heat Wave is going to knock them out. The opponent comes in with the Furret. They already know it's over because I'm about to reach another move, and they would get knocked out by it. Another Pelipper lead with the Shadow Tyranitar. Shadow Tyranitar is going to just have to play this out in general. We're able to farm up 11 Dragon Breaths before they fire off their first charge move. Weather Ball number 1 is going to get shielded by me. I'm going to go and continue to farm. The opponent comes in with the Dunsparce. Dunsparce is a little scary for my backline, especially when a Ludicolo can't do any physical damage against it, but I'm just going to have to send it anyways. Oh, I think we might have gotten the Drill Run catch here. Drill Run catch actually will be resisted, and that is very great for us, because now Ludicolo will be able to take less damage. The opponent is going to fire off a Rock Slide now, the correct move to be firing off against the Ludicolo. And let's see here. I honestly got a little greedy here. I should have fired off the Weather Ball sooner, but I was too greedy. I was trying to overfarm energy, and I accidentally CMP'd that, and the Weather Ball did not knock out the Dunsparce. And yeah, that's not really great here. So we just lost Switch and Shield advantage, but we're going to be able to get an energy advantage when we already did have an energy advantage on our Tyranitar. Tyranitar is going to be able to get rid of both shields with double Brutal Swing here. Brutal Swing number 1 gets the shield. We're going to fire off a couple Dragon Breaths before we shield up their Weather Ball. Payback. Here, we're going to go continue to farm, get a lot of energy. Brutal Swing number 2 is going to get probably the final shield here. Yes, it does. They're going to try to go for a Weather Ball, but unfortunately, they do not reach it. They were actually pretty far away from it, actually. I look, you miscalculated that. But either way, they're going to come in with the Piloswine now. I was trying to get to the Stone Edge, but unfortunately, I don't think I could have gotten it there. Brutal Swing is going to have to do, but man, that still does a lot of damage, even for just a Brutal Swing right there. We're going to come in with the Togetic. We're able to sneak in 3 Fairy Winds before they fire off the Icicle Spear. Oh my goodness, that does a lot of damage, but the opponent will not let us fire off the Heat Wave, which would have been game winning. Hopping into the next match, leading Tyranitar into another Quagsire lead, and that's just really bad in general. This time, they actually fire off their energy immediately. And, yeah, no, that is not good. I was low-key thinking about catching, but maybe this time not this battle. And unfortunately, that's gonna make me pay a heavy price. Brutal Swing number 1 is gonna get a shield from the Quagsire. We're gonna come in with the Ludicolo now. The opponent is gonna come in with the Volt Switch Fortress. And honestly, that is good to see here in the safe swap, because I do not want that thing to be seeing my Togetic. Either way, we're going to fire off some Weather Balls. We're able to sneak in this Astonish there as well, which is pretty nice. But that is probably because they let them sneak in the Volt Switch there. We're going to come in with another Weather Ball. Weather Ball is going to get the Fortress very low. Yes, it does. Oh my goodness. But the opponent is going to be able to reach, I think, a Rock Tomb before we are able to knock. Oh, wait, no, it's a Sand Tomb. Sand Tomb does not knock out, and we're able to farm down with the Tyranitar. That is insane. The opponent comes back in with the loaded Quagsire, but unfortunately for them, we win CMP, and they have to use up their final shield here. And now I think Togetic could probably sweep in the end game, because now that the annoying Fortress is gone, Togetic actually has a free win chance here. They're going to go off with the Aqua Tail here. Aqua Tail won't be doing too much damage. The opponent comes in with the Gourgeist, but the Gourgeist is not going to like this Heat Wave, because Heat Wave just does too much damage to all of its new opponents. Heat Wave number 1 almost knocks out the opponent. I'm going to go for a catch here with the Ludicolo, just so that I don't have to expend my final shield here. So they go for the Seed Bomb bait. I honestly thought they were going to full send that Shadow Ball, but it looks like they're not prepared for that. But we're gonna go for the Heat Wave here. Heat Wave is gonna knock out the Gourgeist, but this game is gonna be very close, because Shadow Quagsire. Oh wait, no, they don't even fire off their move, and I think that is gonna be game. Side Shot gonna knock them out, and we take that win. Hopping into the next match, leading Tyranitar into Altaria. This is actually a decent lead for the Shadow Tyranitar because the Dragon Mesh actually do damage. Now, we are also going to be able to easily outpace the Altaria because Sky Attack just takes like way too long to even reach. But either way, we're able to fire off the first Brutal Swing and get an immediate shield by baiting them with the Brutal Swing because they probably thought it was probably a Stone Edge, and I'm going to actually fire off the Stone Edge here. Stone Edge is going to do some massive damage to the Swallow. Yes, it does. Oh my goodness, that is 2/3 of their health bar gone already. Now I'm going to come in with the Ludicolo, and here's the one I realized, yeah, a backline that is just double weak to poison is just not great. But we're gonna go for the Weather Ball here. Weather Ball is going to knock out their Swallow and come back in with the Altaria. I'm going to try to farm up to the Ice Beam. Yeah, but unfortunately they do manage to reach a move first and they knock us out. And honestly, I can go with any Pokemon here. I'm gonna go in with the Togetic because it's more healthy in my team. I'm going to be able to tank at least 2 Sky Attacks here because Togetic is actually very tanky, like I said in the previous battles. We're going to be able to reach a double Side Shock. I'm going to fire off one just so I don't have to take another Sky Attack from this Altaria. They're going to come in with the Quagsire, another Shadow Quag, and honestly this game is going to be very close here. Side Shock number 1 is going to do some decent damage. Oh no, actually they actually shield up that Side Shock. We're gonna go for Side Shock number 2 onto that Quagsire. Now it does some damage. We're gonna come in with the Shadow Tyranitar, able to get the catch here. The opponent has to knock out this Tyranitar or else I would have been able to reach my Brutal Swing. Now the opponent has no shields left, but I only have 1 shield. Now Aqua Tail does some massive damage. Fortunately, they can't farm us down with the Mud Shots, but they do win CMP here, unfortunately. But Side Shock is going to do most of its thing. I don't think it probably KOs from this range, but Togetic is going to be able to finish the job with 3 Fairy Winds. 3 Fairy Winds is going to be enough to knock out the Quagsire before they reach another Aqua Tail, and that is a good game. Hopping into the next battle, and that's not a good leaf to be seeing. It's a Diggersby. They're gonna come and say switch into the Shadow Girafarig. I'm gonna go for the Heat Wave here. Heat Wave's gonna unfortunately get shielded by the Girafarig. Now I'll tell you this: Shadow Girafarig is probably one of the scariest psychic shadows you've ever seen in your life. Because oh my goodness, the confusion damage along with psychic things. Even against Pokemon that resist it, it's still doing quite a bit amount of damage, and that's just not good to be seeing. Later, we're going to come in with the Tyranitar now. I also thought they were going to fire off the Trailblaze here, but unfortunately they did not, and I just wasted a shield for that. And somehow, for some strange reason, Shadow Tyranitar actually loses CMP against Shadow Girafarig, meaning Shadow Girafarig probably has a higher attack stack than the Shadow Tyranitar, which is really unfortunate. Brutal Swing. No bubbles, still knocks out the Girafarig, which is pretty surprising here. We're going to be able to reach, oh wait, no, we don't reach it, but we're going to catch the Scorching Sands onto the Ludicolo. They're going to come in with their second Psychic type. Oh my goodness, what a team here. It is a it's a mono normal team. That is pretty insane. But either way, we're going to have to deal with it. We're going to have to go with the double Weather Ball strat with the Ludicolo. Ludicolo does some decent damage, but I don't think the second Weather Ball is going to be able to knock out. They sneak in the confusion there, and that's going to get my Ludicolo very low. They're probably just going to farm me down, so I had no choice but to go into Tyranitar. Tyranitar is going to have to fire off a Brutal Swing, or else they would have reached the Trailblaze there. Brutal Swing is going to knock out the Oranguru. Going to come back in with the Diggersby here. Diggersby is not going to be taking a lot of damage, unfortunately, from these Brutal Swings here. Brutal Swings, yeah, no, they don't do enough damage. And honestly, this game is probably going to be over. They're going to be able to knock us out with the Scorching Sands and then just farm us down with their low health Ludicolo. And yeah, that is a unfortunate loss right there. But either way, here comes the final battle of this entire video. Oh my goodness, my throat is running dry once again, like my previous video. Holy. But either way, we're gonna see the lead with the Shadow Shiny Gliscor, by the way. That is a very cool shiny to be seeing. I'm gonna fire off the Sandtail. I'm able to reach my Brutal Swing first though, because of the pacing advantage I have. But the opponent comes in with the Licky. Now I still have some Dragon Breath leftover energy, but I'm gonna have to farm up a bit and then go and switch. Oh wait, no, I'm not going to switch. I'm going to actually go for a second Brutal Swing, trying to force the opponent to submit to the Shadow Tyranitar. They're actually pretty low on health after just 2 Brutal Swings, which just shows just how strong this Pokemon is. The opponent is going to not be able to reach their Shadow Ball as I send in the Togetic to farm them down. They're coming with a Piloswine now. It's a non-Shadow, but that's still going to be bad for them because Heat Wave does a lot of damage there. Half of their HP is already gone. Now, the opponent gonna fire off a nice little spear here, but since this is a non-Shadow, this does actually less damage. Now we're gonna be able to reach the Side Shock here. Side Shock is going to knock them out, so the opponent is gonna have to shield. We're gonna come in with the Ludicolo, and I think this game is gonna be over here because since their life score is already relatively low from all the Dragon Breath damage, I think we're going to be able to win this game. I'm going to have to shield up this because even though this is a Sand Tomb, that's going to still get me in the farm down range where what is it called? Powder Stone is going to get rid of me with just fastness, and yeah, that's not something you want. But either way, we're able to knock out the Piloswine here in the final battle, and that is a good game.
All in all, I think this team was very, very fun to run in general. In fact, throughout this entire video, we managed to get up to 7-3 inside of out of 10 battles. I think it was like 7 wins, 3 losses. And yeah, honestly, it's mainly because Shadow Tyranitar was a very dependable member of the team, being able to just force shields with Brutal Swings as the opening and as the closer. Honestly, even though Togetic is meant to be a safe switch, its closing statements are just absolutely insane. Heat Waves being able to 2-shot Corvic Knight, and also being able to trap for it inside the matches. Honestly, there weren't too many for it, but even so, Togetic was a very, very strong Pokemon to be using. Ludicolo also had some play as well, but honestly, I was hoping to find some flyers, but unfortunately we did not. And that's really unfortunate, but maybe next time we will get more lucky. If you guys enjoyed today's video and actually made it all the way here, I'm just glad you guys did. I hope you guys are going to be able to subscribe as well if you guys have not already, so as to find more content coming soon to our channel. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you guys next time.